Good morning and welcome to a fantastic but a little freaky of a Friday. All right, how many of you got woke up by your bed shaking? Well, Miss Burt did, and it's because there was an earthquake that we actually felt. All right, so I thought today, since we're doing Social Studies Friday, that we would talk about earthquakes and where they happen and why they happen. But before we do that, I need to say good morning to Nevaeh, Jenna, William, RJ, Ree, Olivia, Raylan, Victoria, Spencer, Halen, Kellen, Dominic, Logan, Ace, Kara, Patrick, Zachary, Chloe, Mikhail, Cody, Sadie, John, Caden, Paige, and Michael. All right, I was so glad to see a lot of you yesterday. But back to Social Studies Friday and talking about earthquakes. Now, last week we talked about resources and things and about the earth, and I talked about how science was connected to social studies. So once again, today, we're going to be connecting science and social studies. All right, the first part is, where do earthquakes happen? Well, they can happen all over the place. But in the United States, and this is Burt from the United States here, and in the United States, they mainly happen in what's called the West, which is over here. And we live in Nevada here, right next to California. And all along here, like I said, is where a majority of the earthquakes happen. From down in Hawaii to all along the coast here, way up to Alaska. All along there, there's a great deal of earthquakes. Now, let's talk about the one that happened yesterday, okay? Or actually this morning, sorry. It was about 4 hours ago. So here's Nevada, and here's where we live. And I know it's really kind of hard to see, but it's kind of up here, towards the more northern part of Nevada. Now, where the earthquake happened is about halfway between Fernley and Las Vegas, okay? Now, you're saying, well, how come we felt it? Earthquakes are very strong, and if they're not down very far in the ground, and that's where they happen, then we can feel them. So it was here near a town called Mina, or some people call it Mina. It depends on who you are, but it's the same town. It's M-I-N-A, okay? Now, so it's here in their town called Tonopah, and we actually felt it way up here, but other people over here felt it, and people in California felt it. I want to talk today about what causes earthquakes, because like I said, they can happen all over. Most of them happen on this part of the country, but they can happen anywhere. Now, there are 4 ways that I want to talk about today. The first is called a fault. Now, you can see here's California, and I have a line coming here through California. That is called a fault. It's the San Andreas Fault. A fault is basically a crack that happens or has happened in some rock. Now, down here, if we look, I have a huge rock here, and then, or land or earth, that is that big rock. It has cracks in it. When it has cracks in it and they rub against each other, they can bump each other like this and shake the ground. They can bump each other, hitting each other like this when they're moving a little bit. And it's not very much. It's not like, whoa. But it can inches in a year. So it can move, faults can move up and down, and they can move this way, and sometimes they do a little of both. Okay? So this is the San Andreas Fault, and actually, there are faults, smaller faults, by this black here, all over Nevada. They're not as big as this, what's called the San Andreas Fault, because that runs almost all of California. But there are smaller ones in Nevada. So these faults, or cracks, are kind of rubbing against each other. And when they do, they have energy that comes off. And that's what causes earthquakes. It can be deep in the ground, it can be closer to the top. The ones closer to the top are usually the ones that we can feel. The ones deeper down, we don't really feel that much because they're so far underground. Now, so we have faults. Those are the cracks in the rocks. Now we also, earthquakes can be caused by volcanoes. There's a couple different kinds of volcanoes I want to talk to you about. A lot of you think about these, like the ones that kind of look like a mountain. Those, sure, they can definitely cause an earthquake. A lot of, in Hawaii, they have a lot of volcanoes. All along here, actually, if you had, this would be the ocean over here. And then on this side, way over this way, would be Japan and China. And this is called the Ring of Fire. There's lots of earthquakes all around the Pacific Ocean. Okay? And they can cause earthquakes. Now there's another kind of earthquake, volcano. These are volcanoes. The Ring of Fire is because of volcanoes. Why do you think they call it a Ring of Fire? Yeah, because earthquakes that are causing these volcanoes, and they kind of go together, these volcanoes are erupting, and that's fire, so Ring of Fire. Well, we have another kind of volcano, and that's more, you can't really tell it so much that it's a volcano because it doesn't come up like a mountain. It's more flat. But it's still can be just as powerful. I don't know if some of you may have heard of a park called Yellowstone. They actually have a volcano there, and it's huge, and that's why they have geysers and things that erupt. Well, underground, when the volcanoes are erupting, and it gives off energy, and with that energy, sometimes it causes the ground to shake, and it can be a long distance. Think about Jell-O. If you've ever shaken Jell-O, things can really move under there. Okay. Now the next thing I want to talk about, reason there are earthquakes. They're called plate tectonics. Everyone say that. Plate tectonics. Now, plate tectonics are, the Earth isn't just land, okay? It's not just water, and there's ground underneath the water. Well, the Earth is made of, at its core, it's got like some floating molten stuff that all this kind of floats on. And that's called the crust, what I'm talking about. And so it's all kind of floating on there. But these areas of land are floating all over the core. And sometimes they're huge, so you don't really feel it because they're so big. But sometimes these plates that are floating, and they're huge, they're not very separated from each other very much. Sometimes these plates can bump into each other, and they can cause earthquakes. When they bump, these whole plates bump and slide or bump, and a lot of mountains are made from plate tectonics, because when this group of land and this group of land hit, what happens? Yep, they go up, they push each other up, and they have some mountains there. And we have a lot of mountains very close to us. All right, so we have plate tectonics. Now we have something called man-made earthquakes. Last week, a couple weeks ago, we talked about renewable and non-renewable resources. And sometimes people will drill for non-renewable resources. And when they drill, think of a drill as kind of digging. If these drills will go far enough and be out down long enough, they can actually cause earthquakes. Now, they're not usually as strong as some of these other earthquakes that are caused by volcanoes or faults or plate tectonics, but they can cause earthquakes. So people can cause the ground to shake, okay? So, once again, let's review real quick. We have the United States. Earthquakes can happen anywhere. A lot of the earthquakes happen in the West. We have a more upheaval of mountains and things, and volcanoes, and all of these are seeming to happen more out here. And that's causing more earthquakes. We have volcanoes. We have the ring of fire. We have faults going on. We have plate tectonics. This plate is hitting under the ocean, and that's pushing. We have volcanoes. We have drilling. So, cracks in the rock, volcanoes, both the ones that look like a mountain and more flat, plate tectonics, pushing on each other, and then man-made drilling. Okay? So I want you to write today about how you would help someone if there was an earthquake. Think about what happens in an earthquake. It shakes. The people in Mina, down in not too far from here, where it was really close, where it it was right there where it happened. When we felt it, we're a long ways away. But there, it actually damaged us. How could you help people that have been through a lot of damage from an earthquake? That's your goal today, is to write about that. Okay, I want you to have a fabulous Friday. And don't forget to have some fun. Bye now.